Hello everybody. This year we're celebrating the 1900th anniversary of the start of the building of Hadrian's Wall, and they are inviting us to celebrate some of the archaeological finds that have been associated with that wall, and among them is the first example of a woman's handwriting found in Europe. Sending letters goes back a very long way. Apparently the first handwritten letter goes back to Queen Atossa, a Persian queen, back in 500 BC. And of course for a long time the ability to write letters depended on people being literate and also having the money. And in this country it was a royal prerogative to use any kind of postal service right up until 1635. But in that year, Charles II granted a monopoly to one of his courtiers who made quite a substantial amount of money out of setting up a postal service, again, primarily for the rich and wealthy and literate, but it became something that eventually became well used. But the big change came in 1840 with the introduction of stamps, the famous penny black. The big change here was not just the stamp and therefore an envelope, because previously letters had been charged by the number of sheets, so people didn't bother with envelopes. They simply turned their letter into a folded bit of paper that could be delivered. So in 1840, the introduction of stamps, of envelopes, and the fact that the sender paid as opposed to the recipient. And overnight, the number of letters rose from 75 million in this country per year to 350 million. And ever since, it's been a really popular way of communicating, until, of course, more recently, because now it's going in the other direction. 10 years ago, in this country, there were 14.5 billion letters or handwritten communications sent per year. Last year, just 7.5. And of course, the big change is the introduction of electronic communication. Well, all this really just to remind ourselves how valuable it is to be able to communicate with each other, and how nice it is often to receive a handwritten greeting or letter. In a poll done recently, 69% of people said they would much prefer to receive a handwritten greeting than an electronic one. But on the other hand, 64% said they would never in a year be likely ever to put pen to paper. They would rely entirely on electronic communication. Well, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's inevitable, really. And I just thought it would be worth celebrating today the extraordinary ability to communicate with each other that emails and texts and social media have made possible. We can know almost immediately any news from our families or our friends. We can share ideas and thoughts with people on social media. Those two women who wrote those letters that were found at Hadrian's Wall were senior wives of senior generals, senior Roman generals, who were feeling very lonely and very isolated, and they supported each other through this communication. And that, I think, is really the value of the communication facilities that are available to us. And today I thought that was worth celebrating.